You know that feeling, right? When you feel completely torn between your heart and your head? It's this classic human conflict we see in movies, in books, everywhere. But what if I told you that this entire struggle, this huge divide between thinking and feeling, what if it's all just based on a massive translation error from thousands of years ago? Let me ask you a quick question. Where does thinking happen? I bet I know what you're thinking. It's in the head, right? In the brain. And feeling? Well, that happens in the heart. Obvious. And yeah, this is pretty much how we picture it. We've got this neat little chart in our heads. The head gets all the serious stuff, logic, reason, intellect. And the heart? It gets the fluffy stuff, emotion, feeling, love. It seems so simple, so correct. But what if that clear, clean division isn't the whole story? What if it's not even the original story? We're going to go back to one of the most foundational texts in the world to find a clue that basically unravels this whole idea. And here it is. This is from the Hebrew Bible. God is talking to King Solomon, the wisest guy around, and gives him a wise and understanding heart. Wait, what? Not a wise mind? A wise heart. All of a sudden, our neat little chart is totally wrecked. How can the heart, the place for feelings, also be the center for wisdom and understanding? This isn't just some poetic phrase, it's a doorway into a completely different way of seeing ourselves. So, to solve this puzzle, we've got to do a little linguistic archaeology. We need to understand how the ancient Hebrews actually saw the inner person, not how we see them today. Okay, first up, the word at the center of all this, lev, or lavav. This is the Hebrew word for heart. But its meaning is so different from ours, it's not even funny. For them, the lev was the control center of the whole person. It was the place of thought, of intellect, of your conscious will. The lev was basically what we would call the mind. So if the heart was the mind, where did they put all those deep, heartfelt emotions? The gut feelings, your conscience, that deep moral sense? Well, that wasn't in the lev. It was in the kilyot, the kidneys. Yep. When they talked about their deepest emotions, they were talking about their kidneys. And finally, let's talk about the soul, or nephesh. This is so important. For them, this was not a ghost in a machine, some spiritual thing separate from your body. A nephesh is just a living being. It's the whole, unified you, your body, your thoughts, your emotions, your character, all of it. One integrated thing. Okay, let's just lay it all out side by side. Look at the difference here. Our modern view splits us up, thinking in the head, feeling in the heart, a soul that's kind of separate. But the ancient Hebrew view, it's a totally integrated system. Thought is in the heart, deep emotion is in the kidneys, and the self is just one whole being. Here's the kicker. There was no head versus heart conflict because they were never separate things to begin with. So, how did we get from that holistic, unified person to our modern, fragmented self? Well, like so many things, it all got lost in translation. It really boils down to this fundamental clash in philosophy. Hebrew thought is monistic. You are a soul, a unified being. But Greek thought, especially after Plato, is dualistic. You have a soul, like a separate spiritual passenger riding around in a physical body. These two ideas are just totally incompatible. And these two worldviews smashed right into each other around the 3rd century BCE, when the Hebrew Bible was translated into Greek. This version is called the Septuagint. And suddenly, these rich, holistic Hebrew ideas had to be crammed into Greek philosophical boxes. And, well, you can guess what happened. Something essential was lost. You can literally watch it happen in this table. Just follow the word for kidneys, kilyot. Originally, the Hebrew text talks about God testing the heart and kidneys. The King James Version from 1611 says hearts and reins. Reins is just an old word for kidneys. But fast forward to modern translations, and the kidneys have completely vanished. They've been replaced with abstract ideas like minds or hearts. The physical, visceral connection is just gone. So what happens when we put this lost knowledge back in? What happens when we read some really familiar passages with these new, or I guess really, really old, eyes? The results are kind of stunning. Okay, you've probably heard this one from Jeremiah. For centuries, people have used this verse to argue that our emotions are untrustworthy, that you can't rely on your feelings. It sounds like a pretty clear slam against the heart. But we know the secret now, right? We know that in the original Hebrew, the word for heart, lev, doesn't really mean emotion. It means the mind, and that changes everything. This verse isn't a warning against feeling too much. It's an incredible psychological insight that our own minds are masters of self-deception. Our own logic can trick us. That's a whole different message, isn't it?
Let's try another one. This is a huge one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. We hear that and we think, okay, I need to muster up this really powerful feeling of love.
But now we have the key. To love God with all your lavav means to commit your mind, your intellect, your choices, your thoughts to that love. It's a command for the total orientation of your entire unified self, your thoughts, your will, your actions, the whole shebang. Now, you might be thinking this is all just some interesting ancient history, but the wild part is this integrated idea of the heart-mind is still alive and kicking, baked right into the modern Hebrew language. This is so cool. In modern Hebrew, if you want to tell someone to pay attention, you say sim lev, which literally means place your heart. Intellectual skill isn't wisdom of the brain, it's chachmat lev, wisdom of the heart. This isn't just poetry, it's the linguistic DNA of a culture that never really split thinking from the very core of who you are. And this quote just sums it up perfectly. The reason the Bible doesn't stress out about how to bring the head and heart together is because, in its world, they were never divorced in the first place. We're trying to solve a problem that only exists because of that ancient translation error. So it turns out we inherited a divided self, a conflict between head and heart that just wasn't there in the original blueprint. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. If we could be so wrong for so long about something as basic as the heart, what else about ourselves, about our inner world, have we completely lost in translation?